afternoon and welcome to the August 15th meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. Roll call, please.
Authority members: Agajanian.
Present.
Garpetian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Chair Devine.
Here. Next item, please.
Agenda for the August 15, 2017 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Friday, August 11, 2017 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Next
Thank
item
you.
on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
Okay, do I have any objections?
So
or-
moved. Second.
Second. Hearing no objections, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is oral communications. No cards were submitted for this portion.
And next.
Business agenda is Director of Community Development regarding annual submission of the Section 8 Management Assessment Program CMAP self-certification for fiscal year 26-17. One is a motion approving annual submission of the CMAP.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ochoa?
Yes, ma'am. It is that time of year where we do the annual certification for our Section 8 program, known as CMAP. And because we are recognized as a high-performing public housing authority, we get to do the self-certification. So to give you an overview of what that entails, Joseph Rodarte from the Housing Authority will come forward and provide that briefing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott Ochoa. Good afternoon, Housing Authority
Welcome,
Chair
Joseph
Devine.
Rodarte.
Housing Authority members and city staff. My name is Joseph Rodarte, and I'm a supervisor in the Housing Authority.
I could say, could I call you Joe, but I won't.
Not
go
anymore.
there.
He ruined it. He ruined it.
As Scott said, this is the time of year where we submit our annual Section 8 Management Assessment Program to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The self-certified assessment is a measurement of soundness of the financial and administrative structure of the Housing Authority. The assessment is based on 14 indicators. Each indicator measures a specific component of the program, whether that be waiting list management, housing quality standard inspections, enforcement, and the actual housing assistant payment to make sure that they're correct. Although the CMAP assessment is self-certified, it is vigorously audited during single file audits annually by the city hired CPAs of VTD, as well as by the local HUD field office whenever they come out for rental integrity visits to check out housing quality standards, as well as lead-based paint enforcement. The maximum total score possible is 145 points. Since the Housing Authority is not eligible to receive a score under the 14th indicator, which is family self-sufficiency, we no longer have that program. As such, the maximum point total Glendale can receive is 135 points. So it is with great pleasure to report to the Housing Authority Board. The Housing Authority has received the maximum point total of 135 points. As such, the Housing Authority once again anticipates achieving the designation of high performer once the local HUD field office has confirmed the score via their database. I'd like to kind of have a little side note and mention that although this is self-certified, it really is a vigorous process to monitor throughout the year. It's a testament to achieve that designation of high performer, and it's a reflection of the hard work that staff has done, as well as the leadership that's provided by the Housing Authority Board, as well as management. In conclusion, staff is recommending submission of the Section 8 Management Plan to HUD, and should you have any questions, please feel free to ask staff. They're here to assist.
Thank you, Joseph. I just want to say that I can see how intense this is because of the questions that they ask and the amount of research and work that you have to do to maintain. Are there any questions or comments from the board? No? None?
I have one question.
Okay.
This point system is done by HUD?
It is. It was created by HUD directly. And it was created approximately in 1999, 2000. They tested it out, and then it went live in about 2001.
And we have 135 points out of 135 points.
Exactly. The maximum that we can qualify for.
Thank you.
Sure.
If we are high performance, what does the 145 point authority receive?
The same designation, except there, because we no longer have a family self-sufficiency program, we graduated our last participant in 2015. So we can't be measured against that indicator.
And I wanted to ask about that. Is that a program that, now, you say we no longer have? Can you explain a little bit to me?
Sure. It is available to us. We started that program in the late 1998, I want to say, when we initially leased up 75 participants. And what it does is it's a really great program for families, because you start off basing a certain amount of money that you're making if you're low income, and you receive guidance, work-related information, training and resume writing, those types of activities, usually through the VJC. As their income increases and their rent does, that offset amount then goes into an escrow account. And that escrow account is then, once they graduate after 5 years on the program, they receive that escrow account if it's a positive graduation. If they don't meet the goals of that particular program, they won't graduate with that escrow account. We had 75 participants from that period of time up until 2006, at which point we graduated everyone from that program. We tried to do another lease up, another round of trying to engage the population, our tenant population, and unfortunately, we only were able to lease up 5 families at that particular juncture. So we see that we have a relationship of 80% of our households are either senior or disabled, and not a lot of families on the program from which to draw the pool from. So if we were able to go ahead and wait as the transition or cycle through the program occurs, maybe in later years we may be able to run that program again.
Okay. So it's not something that we've totally abandoned?
No, when the opportunity presents itself, I think we'll be able to go ahead and take another look at it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you, Joseph.
I just have a question, but I don't know. I can ask him or Peter if from last time you guys reported, the waiting list is any different, or is the same number, 2,248?
I'm sorry, Mr. Housing Authority.
Last time you reported you have waiting list for Section 8, which was 2,248 people or household or group waiting for Section 8 voucher.
Depending
I just
on
want to
when,
know from last reporting until now, do we have the same number, or it's any different, or we gave to few a voucher?
Sure. To answer that question, I'll answer it in 2 phases. Since the last time we reported, I think it was approximately, I want to say May, or was it April?
May.
We haven't pulled anybody from the waiting list. Unfortunately. The last time we pulled was in September of 2016. We pulled 50 individuals, in which we were able to lease up approximately 29 of those.
Do you expect to give some vouchers to some group of people? When that's going to happen? I would just wonder.
At this particular juncture, I don't think we're going to be able to pull probably for the rest of the year, and here's why. We are termed what's called a shortfall agency right now. The amount of funding that we receive does not match the expenditures that are going out. And we do this based upon careful calculation throughout the year to make sure that we're maximizing the budget that we receive from Congress. We tried to maximize it. We knew that we were going to kind of go over that particular budget because we wanted to increase our payment standards so that tenants would be more marketable out there in the private market looking for units, or at least competitive. It's worked. But it comes at a cost, and that cost is that we're at a shortfall right now. And we will probably be determined a shortfall for at least the remainder of the year. Part of the requirement to be able to apply for set-aside funds, which are being made available by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is that we are not able to lease up, and we're not able to issue any vouchers. So if we want to be able to cover that gap of our shortfall, we are unable to lease for this particular period of time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is that because we don't have the apartments, or that you're not able to lease? I don't understand. I know we don't have the money, but when you say set aside funds, and we
set aside. Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
The set aside funds is an application made available to all housing authorities that are in shortfall. $75 million was being made available to all housing authorities. We project our shortfall, it depends on who you ask. HUD's going to just say it's on the lower end. We're going to say it's on the higher end. And depending on the final projections that are submitted and then reviewed, they'll submit our application we have already submitted, and then they'll reward us accordingly. We hope to get approximately anywhere from 400 to 500,000, but that's just to cover the shortfall so that we can go ahead and sustain the families that we have right now in the program.
Okay. All right. Now I understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Question, Madam Chair.
Councilor
It's
Sinani.
about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Congressmember Adam Schiff, our congressman, had introduced like an amendment into the annual budget, I think requiring HUD to turn our portable vouchers into local vouchers. And I'm not sure where that went. Did that go anywhere? Did that result in us having 10% more
Good things
funding?
resulted from that, actually. So
Okay,
I'll
let's
let
hear
kind
it.
of Peter go ahead and speak to that, though.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Had to consult real quick. This was on the way out. Yeah, that effort did pay off. It didn't pay off in the manner that it was intended, meaning HUD to automatically award us those vouchers, those portables as our own vouchers, and then reimburse us for the difference in what we were able to collect in the admin fee. That did not happen, but what HUD did do is come back and say, we recognize there's this additional administrative burden administering ports. For some agencies, it's a large number, and for those agencies with this large number, and they set a certain threshold in terms of the number they consider to be impactful on an agency, will, in this set-aside application, annually, HUD's looking at giving out some additional money for areas that are deemed difficult to administer. One of those categories is actually called portable set-aside funds. So for those agencies that are burdened with a high number of ports, HUD will give additional money out. So that came out as a compromise to the congressman's efforts to get something into the budget at that time. We actually, and that's why I was asking Joseph, we just got our award letter on that component. It was about $90,000 in additional admin fee funds that they gave us, recognizing our high port number.
But I assume that's far short of the 10%, the additional 10%, or however much it is that we would receive for the portable. What is it? 1,550 portable.
1,400.
Yeah. So it's far short of that, right?
Yeah, it's not 100%, but it is better than
Nothing.
previous years of nothing. Yeah.
Sure. So on a federal level, next time I or any one of the council members is in Washington and wants to meet with our representative or any other representative with HUD, what is it that we can ask for? What is it that they can do for us to help us with the situation?
It's funny that you asked that because we just got the annual question from the congressman's office yesterday saying that most recently there was language that was approved into the 2017 budget that was only recently adopted that Senator Feinstein put into place with regards to home funds. Mm-hmm. And so home funds has a number of different restrictions to it, and one of it is that they want you to commit the money in a certain period of time. And they did that in the beginning because of certain concerns that agencies weren't spending the money, and they were waiting 5, 6, 7 years to spend money, and they wanted it out faster. So they overreacted and put this requirement in, and it wasn't enough time to put projects together and commit it. So Senator Feinstein had put in some language to repeal that component of it, and it made it in. So that's the most recent relief that we've seen. And the congressman's office wanted to know if there was something similar to that maybe he could try to put forth in the 2018 budget, and we're tossing that around right now. There's a lot of things we like to put in. The question is, what do we think has a chance of being adopted? And so we'll know in about the next week or so as to what areas we might want to try here locally and as well at the congressional level and Senate level lobby for.
So if you can explain, how does that cancellation of home funds, or which are held, I guess, for too long, how does that help our case in particular? How does that impact Glendale?
Well, for a number of years, HUD had a requirement where if we've given you money in 2014, for example, you must commit it to a project by 2016.
Okay.
But there are a number of other restrictions with the use of home funds that don't allow you to simply commit the money. You have to have a project in place. It has to be financially feasible. The home funds has to be the very last source of fundings in a project once everything else is secured. Mm-hmm. So some of those rules, unless you have a project ready to go from day one, right, it's very difficult to put that home funds into a project. And so that had been the challenge for every agency every year.
So that limitation has been removed. The limitation has
Right. They moved it out.
They moved it out.
So there's still an overall commitment of home funds you must put towards a project, but it's longer than this other commitment that's been adjusted.
But we can't use home funds for Section 8 financing, right?
Say that again, please.
Can we use home funds for Section 8 funding?
No, you can't use it to supplement a Section 8 program. And if you recall, we've had previous discussions about that. HUD won't allow you to take an existing Section 8 program and enhance it in some way that then is going to increase the cost to the program and to them.
Sure.
So you wouldn't want to do that. Could you use home funds to run some type of parallel program that operates independently? Mm-hmm. There are some agencies that do that. There are some restrictions to having something like that, though. And with those restrictions, I think you tend to see that most agencies opt not to do it rather than do it because there's no commitment of funds every year.
I see.
So if you set up a program where you have, I don't know, whatever target population, so 20 households on a program, and you put them on some type of assistance on a monthly basis, and next year's funds are gone, reduced, and then we're before you following that saying, well, we started this program, it was great for 11 months, and now it's being terminated, or we need to terminate the households with assistance. So it's a difficult thing to do. It's not unheard of or unprecedented. Some have done it. It's not something that we've necessarily looked at, though.
And going back to my original question with respect specifically to Section 8, what is it that we can ask our federal representatives to do for us, realistically speaking?
Well, the first ask is always more funding. The second ask is to allow some program relief to some of the regulations, and they have done that, and we're trying to analyze right now what additional regulation relief we can ask for. So one thing we look to be bringing before the Housing Authority, maybe in the fall, is we'd like to amend our administrative plan for the Section 8 program and consider whether or not we might want to go to biannual inspections of the units. So that's one area of relief HUD has looked at. You don't have to inspect a unit every year. You can inspect it every other year, so that will save staff time. The other component they're looking, and they've presented and we're evaluating as to whether or not we might want to recertify households on an every other year basis as opposed to annually. So you might want to look at populations where household income does not change. It's typically a senior household, pretty steady. And those clientele you might want to look at and see whether or not that's something you want to rotate to a every other year analysis as opposed to every year analysis.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Just becomes obvious that there are a lot of regulations and obstacles put in our way for using what funds we do get, but we certainly do appreciate everything that we receive from HUD. Next item, please. Thank you for that report. Very good.
Next item is authority. Well, we need a motion approving annual submission.
The item? Second.
Roll call.
Authority members Agajanian,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Chair Devine.
Yes.
Next item is authority member and staff comments.
Any comments from members?
Yes,
Mr. Garpetian?
Madam Chair. I want the staff to take a look at the SB 35 that's coming to Assembly next week. This is very similar to the by right housing proposal that was done last year, if I believe. League of California Cities is opposing it. SCAG is opposing it unless it's modified. And I'm going to touch on a couple of items that what this will mean to local municipalities. It will take the local control away on design review, most of it, and how we regulate the projects. Also, on the parking side, I wanted to read that section if I can. Yeah, it says SB 35 also prohibits a local government from imposing parking standards for approved streamlined developments in cases in which the development is located within 1/2 mile from a public transit, the development is located within an architecturally and historically significant historic district, when on-street parking permits are required but not offered to the occupants, or when there is this is an interesting one, a car share vehicle located within 1 block of the development. So this will take away the right of even imposing the parking requirements that we have. All prevailing wages, which takes the affordability away, and it bypasses CEQA as well. So I'd like us to take a look at it and monitor this bill and see where does it end. If we have to make a stand, I mean, we can talk to our representatives on the state level, see where do they stand on this issue, as well as the League of California Citizens SCAD. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any other?
I have a question.
Yes.
When is the groundbreaking for Chestnut Project, Habitat for Humanity? Do you remember the date?
Lomita?
The Lomita project,
Lomita.
I'm sorry,
Lomita,
Lomita. I'm
August
sorry,
25th.
Lomita. Yeah,
August 25th.
25th.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That one's right around the corner.
Any reportable news on 5th
Yeah.
and Sonora?
Nothing reportable at the public hearing level, no.
Okay, thank you.
No news is good news. Correct. All right. Any other comments? Okay, next item.
It's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Okay.